News bits from around the country and around the world. Some interesting news here that I'm really excited about. First, Japanese researchers have successfully used a tiny little drone to pollinate a flower, creating in effect a robot bee. That is obviously a much larger shot of it. Very, very small, was able to pollinate a flower. Can't go autonomous yet, but this is really important because as we know, we're wiping out bees across the world, and the economic effect of the bees not being able to do the pollination is literally more than $500 billion every year. But at the same time, I watched the most recent season of Black Mirror, so I'm a little bit scared about this. I don't know if you've watched it. It's horrifying. And the next one, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is joining Jeff Sessions in recusing himself. This time, though, it's on any approval authority on the Keystone XL pipeline. Obviously, that's an international pipeline. The Secretary of State normally would have to be involved. He is not going to do that because, of course, his history in the oil industry. So that's probably a good move, although it's likely that the pipeline will happen regardless. Heading east, the Constitutional Court of South Korea unanimously upheld the impeachment of their president, Park Geun-hye, following a massive corruption scandal that involved giving a lot of political authority to an unelected friend of hers. It involved huge sums of money being forcibly given, with political pressure, given to charities, some of which the president skimmed off for herself. This is the first democratically elected president in South Korean history to be impeached, and hopefully a good sign for the world being a little bit watchful of people mixing business and pleasure in this way.
Well, I mean, these South Koreans, I can't believe how corrupt and backwards they are. A presidential candidate, for example, having a problem with a foundation or a charity? We would never have that in America. Not on the Democratic side or the Republican side. We wouldn't have it.
Not at all. And oh, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say they, the amount of protesting they did, been following that for a few months, and they had these massive protests of, I think it was between 500 and 1 million people every weekend for several weekends in a row. This relentless protesting, and I think this country needs more of that. We're getting involved. It's like the Women's March was big, and then everyone sort of congratulates themselves. Oh, look what a great job we did. It's like, well, you got to keep doing that. It's like they're still in office. They're still working hard on on their thing. Everyone's got to, I think take more sacrifice to get more done.
And this is serious for that president because it doesn't just confirm the impeachment that happened in December of last year, but also opens her up to possible legal action as well. Finally, today, the New York medical examiner announced that following pressure from the Department of State, they will not be releasing the cause of death of Russian diplomat Vitaly Churkin, who died unexpectedly in New York last month. That information will not be given out.
Wow, that's a giant story. So I've been talking about these 6 Russian diplomats who have all mysteriously died since November, since actually one of them died on our election day. And a lot of them were mysterious, quick illness, previously had no problems. Then we will call it heart attack. One was shot in the back of his car. Because you get in the back of your car all the time, just hang out and wait to shoot yourself.
In bad neighborhoods.
Right, or have somebody come by and shoot you. So the fact that we're not releasing the cause of death of a Russian diplomat that happened here, that is a huge red flag. That might mean we're investigating it more seriously, and we don't want that investigation to leak out because there might have been foul play. So, I mean, we'll have to see.
Devil's advocate, they say, there is a certain amount of diplomatic immunity when you're a diplomat like this, and that goes on, that continues after your death. And because of the sensitive nature of medical information, that's why they're not revealing it.
Oh, of course.
I gotta give their argument.
So the diplomats actually get all those cool perks even after they're dead.
Yes, if we ever find out that ghosts exist, they can commit crimes and can't be prosecuted.
Wow, yeah. Well, look,
I had never known that either.
Yeah, I didn't know.
We don't know if the Russian government is actually cleaning up their mess after having done a deal with perhaps a presidential candidate from another country. But eventually, the proof will be in the pudding.
We really need to have a big screening of Rocky IV at the Russian consulate.
Oh yeah, we got to do that again. Yes,
let them know what's going on.
Yeah, because America is the greatest country in the United States.
Yeah, it is.
And Rocky IV was released in Russia, but never the full cut. They actually was edited down to 9 minutes. And they cut the credits right when Apollo Creed died in the ring. And then they just freeze framed on Rocky's crying face and just ran the credits over it. So they're able to show it like 80 times a day and made a lot of money. So we need to show them the full unedited cut of Rocky IV. And I think that will give our country a little bit more, just let them know the deal.
Painters in there?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that is the best Rocky movie, by the way.
Support independent media and get the whole Young Turks 2-hour show and other network shows all ad-free. TYTnetwork.com/join. Come join us today.